Hey there, thank you for tuning into Duck Bricks, and welcome to part 6 of our brick breakdown of LEGO Monkie Kid. Over the past several weeks, we've been taking a look at all of the Monkie Kid sets, from MK's vehicles to his allies, to the Demon Bull faction, the Spider Queen faction, and even every single minifigure. Well, today is the culmination of all these videos, where I'll be taking a look at my favorite sets, my least favorite sets, and my recommendations for the best sets to get on a budget, or if you're just wanting to start out with a theme. So without further ado, let's just dive in and start taking a look at LEGO Monkie Kid. Alright, so for this roundup of the Monkie Kid theme, I have gathered some of my favorite sets, specifically my top 6 favorite sets among the entire wave. We've got the incredible Flower Fruit Mountain, the 2 impressive mechs, the awesome spider lair, the boat, and the Monkie Kid Cloud Jet as well. I think that these are a good representation of the different variety that you can get in this theme, from 2 villain vehicles, 3 hero-focused vehicles, and 1 amazing landscape right here. I also have all the minifigures off to the side just in case anyone wants to see it for reference. So what is my favorite out of all these sets? That is a really hard one. I'm gonna say, I know this is probably cheating, but it's definitely going to be a tie between the Flower Fruit Mountain and probably, I want to say the mech, but it's not really that stable. You can't really get it into poses. So I'm honestly probably going to say the Arachnoid base. Now I know this set isn't for everyone, but I just really love the way that this looks, how big it is. It makes me really nostalgic for some of my favorite older LEGO themes like LEGO Exoforce, so definitely a winner in terms of the vehicle category. But buildings, this one blows away a ton of the other sets, even some of the other vehicles, so this is probably my favorite set, or one of my favorite sets of the entire Monkie Kid wave. And honestly, I feel like the vast majority of these sets that are presented on the table right here are pretty well priced. Looking at this set in retrospect, for $150, it's actually very much worth it because it actually does also come with a side building and a side little Demon Bull robot to fight against. Comparing it especially against the other $150 set, which was the Drone Copter, now that one does not feel like it's worth the money for me. I would definitely choose this over that set if you had to pick one $150 set. Now the choice between the 2 $170 sets is a lot harder because this is an incredible HQ, really well done playset, but I gotta give it to the Cloud Mountain as well, the Flower Fruit Mountain. I think that this set is a little bit hurt by the fact that you can't really do too much with it when it's fully closed up. It's not like it's that big of an action-packed vehicle to be soaring around. It's more of a transportation barge. Really, the big fun is when you open it up and then you have to put it all back together again, and there's a lot of wasted space, especially on the inside, because you just have to keep the Technic structure of the boat. For here, however, you can actually explore all the different nooks and crannies of the mountain. You've got an entirely secluded waterfall and temple space over here, a Monkey King throne, all sorts of different action features like splitting the waterfall like so, even showing different places historically of Monkey King's birth and so on. So all in all, I think that this is a better set, although this one is definitely really fun. Probably going to be a lot more fun for younger kids too, if they're looking for something to play with around that price range. In terms of the Demon Bull King, which is the $90 price category, there isn't another $90 set that you can really compare it against. The closest thing is the $80 Monkey King Lion Guard, and I can say right now, this is leagues better than it, so definitely would recommend this set. Can't really compare it against any of the other ones, but it is there. For the $120 set, obviously this one takes the cake over the Red Sun's Inferno truck. I think that this is just a much more impressive build, and it actually does have the benefit of all $120 being allocated to the entire build, which is a big pro and con sometimes of Monkie Kid when they include so many side builds to get to the actual main build. Let me just bring an example up to show you. This is the Drone Copter. It costs $150 for this build, but you don't start building it until close to bag 9 or 10. Bags essentially 1 to 8 are entirely consumed by building these cargo containers, which sure attach to the vehicle, but it's not like the vehicle needs them. They're not really part of the vehicle. They can just be picked up by the vehicle. You had the evil cargo container by the spider's end of things, and then you had another bag that was entirely just dedicated towards building the little drone spiders and the little side watercraft for the Mo cat. All in all, you start building this $150 center build about over halfway into the actual set construction. That feels like a bit of a problem to me, in which case there are too many side things that detract from the main build in and of itself. Completely on the other hand, you've got, again, the Arachnoid Queen base, which sure, it does have some little mini spider drones, but you essentially start building this by bag 2 or 3, and all of the parts are going directly into it. For the other $120 set, which is this build right here, the Red Sun's Inferno truck, half of the parts are put towards building the side buildings, which I did say I do like the side buildings, but a lot of the parts in the set are dedicated to that. When you actually start building the truck piece comes together pretty fast, and then a lot of parts inexplicably go into this little mini car that feels like a waste of parts sometimes. There's a lot of click hinges, rotation hinges that don't actually move. They don't act as hinges. They're just hinged pieces being used in the construction. And it's so bizarre to me. I mean, it looks pretty good as a final product, but there's so many pieces packed into this one build that it'll take you about as long to build this as it will take to build this. So it's not really that great of a distribution of parts for certain sets, which I do feel hurt the price tag later on, because when you look at this as a whole, which is the big bulk of what you get in a set, I honestly would feel like $120 looking at this or this, the choice is very clear which value for money you're getting more. It's obviously this one here, which is just a lot bigger. And sure, some of that size is exaggerated by the spindly legs that stretches it out and makes it appear a lot more larger than it actually is. But at the same time, I also do wish that LEGO would do sometimes more stuff like this, where they actually use the parts in a smart manner to make a larger build, while maybe compromising a little bit on some of the stability or some of the hollowness on the interior. Obviously, you don't want to go too far in that direction, because that's how you get stuff like the early Exoforce sets, where you had the most basic and spindly of builds, and that was stretching out in all directions to make it appear larger than it actually was. I think that this set, though, hits a pretty good medium, because again, the back of it is pretty packed in with a lot of details. So it's not like it's completely skimping on details. This one has a over-detailed front part that takes up a lot of pieces, and then another half of the pieces in the set are dedicated to this side building, which honestly could stand on its own perfectly fine. And so all in all, I do feel like the best Monkie Kid sets are when the entirety of the parts budget are allocated towards just one model, like this one right here, or even the Cloud Jet up there, which of course does have a splitting feature, but the entire budget of $60 for that set goes into making the one jet, which I do feel works out a lot better in its favor compared to many of the other sets on this list. The one big exception, I will say, is the Monkey King Warrior Mech. For $150, they managed to not only do this massive mech, which I probably would have been happy paying around $120 to $130 for on its own, but also including a tall building next to it and another side build. That's an example of the parts budget actually being used pretty well to make side builds on top of the main build. Although it is pretty rare, and many of the other instances just simply did not work. But you can see here, these are my favorites. I would recommend for anyone starting off on the theme to maybe, if you're willing to spend a little bit more money, I'd recommend starting off with this set. It gives you a very good variety of a mech build, a mini mech build, and a building, a pretty good slice of the world. If you're into really large location style playsets, obviously the Flower Fruit Mountain is the way to go. Or if you're kind of on a budget, the $60 Cloud Jet is not bad. It's one of my favorite builds, actually eclipses many of the other more expensive sets. And if you're really on a budget, the $50 Horse Jet is actually really great for the price, especially coming with a side build, although again, it could have been $40 or $45 if it didn't have the side build. Or even the $35 Red Sun's Jet is actually a pretty decent vehicle, and honestly a lot better price than the previous $35 set, which was just a motorcycle and a roadblock. But I guess the final big question to ask for the Monkey Kid theme, for this theme in particular, is the big question that everyone's been asking about the theme. Are the sets ridiculously overpriced? And to that I will say, some of them, but try to give some others a chance. Specifically, the ones I have here on this table are pretty good representations of sets where I feel like the price tag is relatively warranted for the sets. Other sets, like I mentioned earlier, this drone copter right here for $150. Now that feels really overpriced to me, especially because of how hollow it is underneath, how thin the frame is, and how much time is spent building side builds, which honestly on their own aren't too interesting. I doubt that anyone will really want to play with just a cargo box on their own. It really just has to fit together with the build here, and it comes with an extra one for the villains, which feels like overkill to me. Even looking at some of the Wave 1 stuff like this one, which is probably one of my least favorite vehicles from the Monkey Kid line, $50 for this is absolutely ridiculous. It's only $50 because they included the Sandy Big Fig alongside it, and even then, come on, we're getting the Sandy Big Fig a ton before. We really didn't need him in this set, so $50 for something like this, really not worth it. But on the other hand, $50 for something like this, with a side build, I can justify a lot better in my mind. So I guess what this all boils down to is, sure, some of them might be overpriced, some of them very overpriced, and definitely are extremely overpriced. But honestly, if you personally feel like it's worth it for the money for you, then I'd say go for it. I wouldn't feel too guilty buying sets, especially of this size, because what you're paying for is really what you get, especially for these sets that I have on the table here. In terms of the very overpriced ones, I already have warned you, but do be aware that it's very unlikely that these will ever go on sale, because again, they're just LEGO retail exclusives. You won't see them on Amazon, Target, or Walmart. Stuff like the Lion Guard for $80, pretty ridiculous. The Drone Copter for $150. Maybe if you look at the price per piece count, it's not bad, but if you actually look at what you're getting, it's kind of bad. If you look at the $50 Demon Bull tank, that one's not great. Even the $120 Red Sun's Inferno truck could be a lot better in terms of value, and especially the Flaming Foundry for $150 is pretty crazy as well, and honestly not too interesting of a build, being just a rectangular prism. On the other hand, we have gems like the $170 Flower Fruit Mountain, the $150 Monkey King Warrior Mech, which they managed to cram an entirely separate side build into while still making this feel worth the money, even the $60 Cloud Jet, the $120 Arachnoid Base, and the $90 Demon Bull King, all examples of pretty good value, I will say. But with that, we've about wrapped up this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and let me know down in the comments below if you want to see more videos like this. I'll be trying to do it for all sorts of different LEGO themes, whether in the present or in the past, because I do try to collect pretty much every single LEGO set out of any given theme that interests me. So really any original action theme or even licensed theme, I probably own all of the sets for, or most of the sets, such that I can do a video retrospective like this. I'll definitely be doing another one of these for Monkey King once the theme wraps up at the end of its run. With that, we've about wrapped up. Thank you all for tuning in to this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Always be sure to tune in to Duck Breaks for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. If you like this type of video, let me know down in the comments below, because there are a ton of other LEGO themes that I could do this for, particularly with even older themes like Exoforce, Atlantis, or Power Miners, or even some of the more modern stuff like Hidden Side as well. Of course, I have a very similar series like this concurrently running for LEGO Ninjago, although that one's going to take a lot longer to wrap up because, quite frankly, there's a lot more to cover than just what's here from Monkey Kid. So, well, thank you all for tuning into Duck Breaks. I hope that you enjoyed this series, and stay tuned, as usual, for next time. Bye-bye for now.